The tour of the 62 Oasis travel trailer known as Ethel. I've had it for almost 2 years and done a lot of work on it, mostly cosmetic. When I bought it, the structure was still pretty sound, so most of what I've done was cosmetic. The outside, I've done the paint job. That was really difficult, and I see why people get quoted $3,000 to $5,000 to do it. I'll show you some detail here. This is sanded down all the way to the bare aluminum, and then there's a 1-inch border of the bare aluminum with the white and the turquoise. And each canned hem had their own distinctive splash on the side, and this is the Oasis wave. And that semicircle there is really difficult to duplicate because tape doesn't flex. But got her done, and it came out looking really good. Get quite a few compliments on it, and that's the original color. You'll see in a minute it matches everything on the inside. So there's white, turquoise, the polished aluminum, and then the frame, the bumper's all orange, or I just said orange, gray. Got the spare tire. It has a decent tire on it in case you need it. The lights, the side marker lights are the original lights, but with replacement replica beehive lenses on them to duplicate what was on there originally. These are also replica brake lights. They're relatively new, good and shiny. I still have the originals, but they were pretty rusty and just didn't look good, but I still have them. Original license plate light. All the aluminum was polished. Most of these vintage trailers that you find that got a new paint job, they paint over all this nice aluminum trim like these J-rails, which was the case with mine. And so I took them all off, polished them, all the aluminum trim up here above the window rails, this one here on the storage, all of that got polished and then resealed with the original putty tape or butyl tape behind all the windows, so there's no caulking around any of this trailer. It's ugly and doesn't work. So got all these jalousie windows. No broken glass or anything. Well, not anymore. I had to replace a few panes, and all of them got new seals, new rubber seals. These little rubber gaskets that go on the top. There's this one on the bottom, and then this little one on the side on both sides. All 5 of these windows got new seals and new screens. You'll see on the inside that got new screens. But again, all these J rails got polished. That is the drain for the sink. I don't have a hose attachment to go on there. Some people do. I don't have that because I haven't really used the sink much. That's where the sink drains from. Up front, I rebuilt this rock guard. It came with the trailer. I don't know if it was original from the factory, but it's of the era, and it had a gross piece of green fiberglass up there that I took off and put a piece of aluminum, and then it also had a busted hinge. And so I fabricated 2 new hinges and also 2 replacement hinges that'll come with the trailer in case one of these hinges breaks. They're just on there with rivets, which isn't too bad. I had to replace the crank. The original one broke in Oregon, and the original one was 4-pin, and they don't make those anymore. So now it's a 3-pin. It's in there securely, working great. There's a ground. The whole trailer was rewired. It's got a new 7-pin pigtail that goes to the drum brakes that are in there that have just been tuned, and the bearings repacked. This is where you'd fill the water tank, and originally I had it hooked up so you'd have to hook CO2. I've seen people, they have a CO2 cartridge up here that provides the pressure because there's no electrical water pump or anything in there. And when I looked into the fresh water storage, it just looked very rusty on the inside, and I never used it, but if it was going to be used, I would recommend that it be replaced. And then there's the 2 propane tanks. You can switch between them. These are the latches that latch the rock guard from the inside so that it's not flapping and smacking up against the trailer. Externally, here we have the original Oasis decals that are on here and emblems. The door, it's got the original Bregman door, and I replaced this cylinder because this one was all smashed, so it's got a fresh key. I had to rebuild the door. It was rotten. The bottom half of it was rotten, so I pulled it off and reframed the whole door, re-insulated the whole door. It's basically new. So it opens up and there's a little latch for it here. The screen was also painted, so I stripped it down, stained it, and put a new screen on it. This slides so that you have access to the inside of the door handle. You open it like so. Inside the trailer, you see it still has the original turquoise appliances, the original backsplash, original floor tiles. They're the splash style. There's some pink, some turquoise, some brown in there. Underneath this rug that I have in here, this is the original radiator heater, and you fill this guy up with water and it runs off of propane. I haven't used it, but it is very simple, and I do believe that it would work just fine. Here's the oven. Practically, I've never used it. I've never baked while camping, so it's still pretty much new. The range, ice box, forgive the mess in here. I have been living here for a little bit. But yeah, there's a hole in the back where you put the ice on top. I just use it for dry goods storage because it's not horribly efficient. It goes through about 10 pounds every 2 days of ice. But there's a hole in the back that drains the ice. But I just use it for dry goods storage, but I liked keeping it because it was original. The Oasises were known for being a little more stylish due to their curved cabinetry. Most of the vintage trailers just square it off, and Oasis, this one up here as well, they curved it all. It looks really nice. And this was painted when I originally bought the trailer, and so I sanded it all down and stained it with this two-tone stain that I think looks really cool and brings it back to life. Mom did the curtains and the upholstery as well. What else in here? The cabinetry you'll see in here. This was the original. It's painted. You can still see the wood grain underneath it, and that's what made me want to restore it, because I could still see this really nice wood grain. And in here, here's a little. This is about the radiator heater in the floor. The guy that installed it. But yeah, there's those cabinetry, a lot of storage. Underneath the bed, there's a whole storage that goes along here. That door opens up, and there's a whole storage compartment that goes under there where I've got, an axe. I've got the awning for the trailer, extra chalk blocks and lift thing. You could fit everything under there. That's the original roof vent. Most of them have been replaced with a plastic vent. This one I polished, brought back to life, and put a new screen on it. So that's still original. Yeah, the bed folds up into a couch, but I always just leave it like that. And there's another storage shelf up here that could definitely sleep a child. It's pretty sturdy. And then it also folds up if you want to store it up there. It'll latch in there. There's 3 lights that all work when you're plugged in, those 3. In addition to the propane light that has a little mantle like the old Coleman stoves. It's a cool feature, but not a great design, as if you have it going for too long, it'll start to melt the ceiling a bit. And I sanded that down and cleaned it up, but I was going to add a plate. I've seen people put a little aluminum plate up there with a little 1/2-inch spacer underneath it to help deflect some of that heat. So that is an option as well. Original countertops and sink. The sink has had a few chips that has been repaired. Make you aware of that. And then also in here, this back piece of ash, this window, it doesn't leak, but I've noticed that it gets condensation when it's cold, and especially when I was in the Pacific Northwest, if I don't have these side windows open, it gets a lot of condensation and then drips off the corners. And so there was water damage on that piece of ash. In order to replace it, I would have had to taken the exterior paneling off, disassembled this little headboard storage that's in here. It's got a door here and one below as well, just for storing stuff in there. And I would have had to take all that apart in order to replace that piece of wood, and I didn't think it would all go back together nicely and just be a big hassle. So I put a piece of veneer on it, which it matches the ash wood grain, but it's been cold here lately and the glue didn't set well, and so when it gets really cold it bubbles up. It's not bad right now because it warmed up a bit, and it seems that if it's over 50 degrees you don't even notice it, but as soon as it dips down below 40, the veneer starts bubbling up a little bit. So it's really disappointing because I wanted to just restore it all and make it all uniform. When most people see water damage, they'll just cram some putty in it and then paint over it and make it smooth and look good without actually fixing anything. But it's structurally good in there. There's no, rotten wood behind there. It just had some little bit of damage that I wanted to cover up. The closet, there is a great closet in here. Lots of storage space again. Couple little cubbies in here. Sorry, it's getting a little bit dark, but a lot of storage in the wheel well in there. The two drawers, got some socks and underwear in there, and the drawers have a little notch cut out of them so that they don't slide out when you're going down the road. You gotta lift them up and out a little bit. But I've got these drawers, and then the cabinets. It's a lot of storage space. There's some more storage space in here. That's the old water tank that could be replaced. Various stains and stuff that I've used. Some extra material left over from the upholstery. These ones, this is really the only other damage to the wood. A little bit of the veneers peeled up around the bottom here. This high traffic areas always gets wet, and this one and this one have a little bit of veneer peeling up, and then somebody patched a hole in there, but I didn't want to construct a whole new cabinet door just because of that, so I haven't yet. But she's been a great trailer. Looking to find the right buyer. She's been really sturdy and beautiful to live in, that's for sure. It's been me and my dog in here for about 2 years, and we've loved her. It's going to come with a couple extra little hair scrunchies that hold the curtains together. And yeah, I think that just about covers everything having to do with Ethel. I'll crawl on the roof here real quick so you can see that. It's in good shape. There's nothing to the roof really, just the one ceiling vent, so there's not a lot that can leak. But all the seams, I put new seam tape across it and then sealed it with Flex Seal on the top, 2 coats of Flex Seal. There's the original Oasis decal up there. And yeah, I think that just about concludes the tour. Windows, new screens. She's not perfect by any means, but she's in pretty good shape for pushing 60 years old. Let me know if you got any other questions, and thanks for looking.